Hello, YouTube. It is Tuesday night, Wednesday night actually, and we're going to play a little bit of Phantasy Star Online. So first things first, I just want to go over my Dreamcast. So as you guys probably know, if you've been following me along for the last, let's say about a year, I have been adding all kinds of mods to my Dreamcast, particularly this one right here, the Sega Sports Edition. And I think I'm finally complete. I think I've finally added all of the mods I can possibly add to it, save for one that I'm sort of thinking about right now, and it'll actually be a mod that nobody else has done, but I think I can pull it off. I just have to take some time and just see if it can actually work within the Dreamcast. But this right here, I think, has been modded to its fullest extent. There are some other mods you can apply to it, but based on the mods I've already done, they would be sort of redundant. And I'll go over it actually because I prepared this in advance. So my Sega Sports Dreamcast. All right, let's just pop off the top like so. Hopefully the power supply will stay where it belongs. And I'm going to show you guys what I did. So this is my Dreamcast. Okay, now if you know what a Dreamcast looks like, if you've ever taken off the shell, you'll probably notice that this looks significantly different from any Dreamcast you've ever looked at. So I'm going to go over what I've done. Firstly, right here we have, right there rather, we have removed the original battery, replaced it with a removable coin battery holder, so you can just pull out the battery whenever it goes and you can place in a new one. The original one was soldered in permanently. It was never intended to be replaced. This mod is pretty much essential if you're going to be getting a new Dreamcast. Secondly, I've replaced the original stock red LED with a nice soft white one. And, it just makes it look a little bit better, especially with the black Sega Dreamcast. Thirdly, we have removed the original power supply and replaced it with a Dream PSU. And this thing is amazing. You look at how much less space it takes up. That's because that power supply is actually now on the outside of the machine in the power block instead of inside. So it reduces heat, weight, it just makes it a lot more efficient. Also, if your power supply does die, you can easily swap that out. Whereas when the original stock power supply died, you'd have to get an entire new board. It'd be a real pain in the ass. So that's in there. You already know about the USB GD-ROM right here. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Right here. In addition to the USB GD-ROM, I've also had these 3D printed custom inserts for the Dreamcast, so that way there's no gaps or anything in it, and I had them printed in black, so now you can just place it in. When you put the lid on, everything looks like it's just cinched right up, like no dust will get into the actual machine anymore, and it'll also cause the airflow to flow a lot more efficiently. Lastly, I have finally replaced the original fan. Now this is a Noctura brushless fan, and it's a really high quality computer fan. So I had to have it installed with a custom housing, as you can see right there. And basically what it does is it really reduces the amount of sound. Now there's a guy on eBay selling these kits right now. He's also part of the Dreamcast Junkyard, and he actually broke it down in decibels how much sound it reduces, and it's quite a bit. It also improves the airflow as well. You have to do basically no permanent modifications to your system. You just remove the stock fan, put in a custom plug so that way the 3 pins will fit in, and that's it. And you turn it on and you can't hear a single thing. It is amazing. In addition to that, if you are going to put in the Noctura fan mod, you have to have a custom lid switch printed, and that's because it needs this little gap right here in order to close properly. But that's about it. I can't really think of anything else I could really add to this machine to make it run any better. You could put in a region-free BIOS, but with the USB GD-ROM, you don't necessarily need that because you can play all game files region-free anyways. In terms of some other mods that people do, like what would be another example of one? Oh, the switch for between VGA and and standard composite. Like, I guess you can do that if you want to trick the machine into playing VGA games, but if you just put a copy of Codebreaker onto your USB stick and run that before you run the game, it's fine. And you can do that because you have the lid switch actually soldered to the USB GD-ROM. So you open it up, it acts like you've actually switched the game. So you can do that anyway, so you don't really need to switch it out. And Codebreaker, of course, in addition to allowing you to play region-free games, which you don't need with the USB GD-ROM, it will force your Dreamcast to play non-VGA games through VGA. So that's really useful. So anyways, yeah, that's about it. That is the entire Dreamcast up until this point. I don't really think there's much else I can do to it that is going to make it run much more efficiently. The only thing I can think of is a mod that nobody else has tried, and who knows if it'll work, but I'm going to give it a shot at some point. So before we get started, let's just put this back together, safe and sound, like so. I have the screws over here. The first thing I noticed when I turned it on after I did the Silent Fan mod was just how ridiculously quiet it is. It, you know, we have, I have swapped out quite a bit of original parts, and that's fine because I do have a few Dreamcasts currently that are unmodded, and I'm going to keep them unmodded because it's always good to have original hardware, as original as possible. In terms of this Dreamcast, I mean, it's kind of come to the point with how much of it is an actual Dreamcast. Now everything runs off the FPGA board, which is fine. That's all you really need to do. Like, it is the actual hardware, but with all of the modifications and all of the components that have been swapped out, it's about maybe, I'd say, 60% original at this point, and that's including the actual case. Because so much has been replaced, it does feel kind of like a different machine at this point, but it is very useful for somebody who wants to just play the games and isn't necessarily a collector. And in fact, you know what, I'm going to correct myself. If you are a collector, you don't always want to break out your discs because your discs can be rather fragile, especially for the Dreamcast. So to preserve those, I mean, getting a USB GD-ROM is ideal, especially if you do own most of the games in the collection, or at least the games that you want to play. I see nothing wrong with it. All it does is really just preserve the games that you have. So just show you, maybe you can take a look inside. Hopefully you can see what it looks like with the custom tray. It looks pretty sharp, it really matches the original color of the Dreamcast perfectly. And then we just slide in our USB stick like so. It fits in there quite nice and snug. It's kind of hard to get a look in there without the shadow. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this this mod and everything that I've done to it over the last couple of years. All told, the cost, maybe not ideal for everybody. It is certainly a little bit more expensive than I would have liked to have spent on some of these mods, particularly the USB GD-ROM. But that said, the USB GD-ROM has paid for itself and then some. The Noctura fan didn't really cost that much. I got it on Amazon, I believe, for about $13 shipped, so that's not the end of the world. The housing, you can print the housing yourself. The files are available online, really easy to find. And the only reason I did have it printed for me was because the 3D printers that I was able to locate, they weren't the best, and the 3D printer that the person who was selling them on eBay was using was pretty high quality. So I just figured it was probably a good idea to just go with that guy instead. Okay, so first thing is first. Let's get ourselves hooked up here. I have disconnected quite a few things because I have been doing quite a few mods to different consoles lately. I've really been playing a lot with my Sega Game Gear. I finally decided to get a pair of Eneloop batteries for it, and that makes all the difference. I can get about maybe 6 to 7 hours of gameplay out of it now, which is pretty amazing. I also finished the modifications on my PS3 through the new exploit that people have discovered using the web browser. And that web browser exploit is pretty amazing. Basically, in order to install custom firmware, you have to downgrade most machines. Most people have, installed the official firmware up until the most recent point, and because of that, you have to downgrade. It's a really simple process, actually. It took me about an hour start to finish to get it done because I wanted to make sure I did it properly. But once it's been done, I was able to bring the firmware back down to the original setting, and then I was able to install Rebug, and with Rebug I installed Multiman, which allows you to rip your original discs, and yeah, it works great. I put it in a 1 terabyte FireCuda hard drive, and I was really impressed. It works really, really well. There's a lot of different apps available for Rebug, and people that are just running custom firmware on their PS3 right now that are pretty amazing. A lot of television channels that you can get that you can't really get here in Canada. In particular, getting Hulu and HBO Go, which I'm interested to see what that's all about. So anyways, yeah, really been busy lately between that and work and all the other fun stuff, and actually building the new computer, which is hopefully going to be coming around in, I'd say, a week or so, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, what's going on into the chat, guys? Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Tony, Link, glad to see you on board. Okay, let's go to continue and enter, and here we are. So I put a shout out on PSO Silver Rant, and it looks like a couple of people are already on today via Dreamcast Now. Today is the official game night, but they're playing Maximum Pool, and it looked like there's only 2 players playing currently. I love Maximum Pool, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't feel like one of those nights, and I'm hoping that the Easter Frantic Fauna is still running even though Easter is over. So we'll see. Okay, who do we got on board? Oh my goodness, we are empty. All right, let's just take a quick jump over to PSO Silver Rant, and let's just remind these folks that we are playing tonight. So let's just go to, actually I'm going to go to Dreamcast Junkyard and let them know as well if they want to play. It is Wednesday night, which is kind of always a difficult night to get people on board, so we'll find somebody. On Pioneer right now, hop onto Vega, or actually we're gonna go to Altamira. Alright, so sorry you guys can't see that, but I actually just jumped into Dreamcast Now and put in our, Dreamcast Junkyard, and just put a shout out to see if we can get some people to play. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, let's see if, okay, cool, we got 1 person in Altamira, so where are they? It was actually probably me. Okay, Frantic Fauna is still running, but it would be good if we can play with another person. So let's just start our own team right now. Organize, create team. Yeah, you know, sometimes you can get lucky with Dreamcast games on eBay. Not always, but sometimes. I was able to get recently a couple of really good titles for fairly cheap. And actually, not too long ago, what was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years out, I was able to get the Sonic Limited Edition complete for I think about 140 Canadian shipped, which is completely unheard of nowadays. Like, in the last 2 years, the cost of Dreamcast games has just skyrocketed. It's getting to the point where, you know, the entry point for people getting into Dreamcast is going to be almost unattainable to some degree. Like, I mean, there's still a lot of great games that are floating around the $10 to $30 mark, but a lot of the games that people want, they're just, you know, they're just not available. And actually, you know what? The games that people want aren't necessarily the greatest. Like, I know Cannon Spike goes for about $250 nowadays. It's not that great a game, guys. I've played it a couple of times. I really wanted to enjoy it, but it's just not that great of game. So you can do without that. If you can get it for cheap, why not? But you know, you don't necessarily need to have it in your collection. I would suggest getting a couple of the old standards because they're always readily available, particularly Sonic Adventure, PSO, Quake, any of the online games. They're fairly cheap still, but yeah, the costs are just going up. Okay, so let's equip our Dreamcast mag. And let's just run out to the forest and see what we can do while we're waiting to see if anybody else is going to jump in tonight. Hey, Trevor, welcome aboard, bud. Hey, Lirabot, welcome aboard as well. Okay, so what weapon do we have equipped right now? I think it's our S-rank weapon. I'm not 100% sure. No, we've got our Android rifle. Okay, so let's just switch off. Perfect. I think the reason that we had it on Android rifle was because we were just adding some mono grinders to it. Okay, soul atomizer, no. Don't need that, don't need that. Okay, let's just run and kill ourselves some monsters until somebody else joins in. So what's been going on? So I told you guys I am currently trying to build a new PC, and that is because I want to really improve the streams, but also I'm trying to future-proof my current situation. The computer I have is pretty decent, I gotta admit. I thought that I was gonna need to get an entire new computer, but it turns out the new video card that I have does the trick quite fine. I was really impressed with it, actually. It was the GeForce Dual 1050 Ti graphics card, 4 gigabytes on board. And you know, for a cheaper graphics card, like I only paid $175 for it. It is really, really decent. If you're going to go up to the 1060, you're looking at spending about 2 to 3 times that much. But really, that's based on an inflated market right now because so many people are using graphics cards for data mining. So I think as soon as that calms down, you're going to see graphics cards kind of go back to what their original price points were, which were significantly cheaper. But still a little expensive for the higher end ones. I was thinking about going for broke and getting the highest end possible, but you know what, the one that I have I'm quite pleased with. I think it'll do the trick quite fine. I don't really do a lot of modern gaming. The most modern game that I'd be interested in playing is probably Fallout 4. But beyond that, everything else seems to play fine. I was playing a couple of rounds of Diablo 3 the other day and put those on max settings, and it worked great even on my current computer. So I was really impressed with how much the graphics card was able to handle the load on my computer. And right now I'm actually streaming losslessly, and I've noticed that the video quality of the game is great. It's not as soft as it was before, but I've also noticed that the camera doesn't go out of sync with the microphone as much anymore, even though it's tethered to the microphone. And yeah, it just seems to handle everything pretty nicely. I did notice that it dropped a few frames here and there, but I think that's actually due to my internet connection. Now I have 1025, so 10 up, 25 down. I am thinking about upgrading that because Bell has a special right now where I think it's like 100 down. Don't quote me on that. It's like significantly higher than I have, and I do have a Bell cell phone, so I'm like, well, maybe I can amalgamate the services and they can cut me a deal. We'll see what happens. But you know, if I was able to get 100 down, that would really improve the stream quality. Even though it's pretty decent. Like right now, we're streaming losslessly at 1080p, 60 frames per second. Even though the camera is probably running at 30 frames per second, if not lower, because it's not really optimized. It's the Logitech 920, which is a fantastic webcam. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where newer technologies out there and I should probably jump on it. Now I was looking at some new webcams like the 922, and I realized that I have a really decent camera. Why didn't I use that? So I was doing some research online if I could use it, because I have the Nikon D7200 digital SLR camera. And yeah, you can easily tether that to the OBS software and just use that as your webcam, which, you know, is really overkill for a webcam, but picture quality is fantastic. Nothing's saturated, everything looks really sharp, really crisp, and also the colors are just really vibrant on it. So when I get the new computer set up, we will definitely be going into that. Okay, so let's just see if we can lure these guys out a bit. Oh, special weapon, cool. And let's turn around. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as we get a moment, we're going to actually feed our mag as well, instead of neglecting it for the entire round. So the new computer, what's that all about? Well, I've been buying everything independently, and so far it's run me a little bit more than I would have liked, but it's also fairly top of the line. So I showed you guys that I got the processor. That's the Intel Core i7 8700K, which is basically top of the line right now. It's the best you can get. I did get a Gigabyte motherboard. I got the Gigabyte Gaming Pro, which is looks like a fantastic motherboard. I was reading reviews online, and everybody seems to be pretty happy with it. And I think for my purposes, it'll be fine. The thing holding me back right now, well, what else did I get for it? I also got the Thermo Water 3 for the CPU to keep that cool. I bought a AetherPro tower. Okay, let's feed our mag right now, actually. I also got, what else did I get? I got a couple extra fans, just to kind of keep it as cool as possible. I also am going to transfer some of the older stuff that I have from this computer over. And, what else? I have, oh, I got a Corsair CX500 power supply for it, which is more than enough. It's 500 watts for my purposes. And yeah, it's like a full-size tower. It looks pretty great. The only thing I'm missing is a hard drive. So originally I was going to just get a regular SSD hard drive and throw a copy of Windows on it, because I think you can still upgrade if you have a license for Windows 7 up to Windows 10. Don't quote me on it, but I think you still can. And I did get one. I just got a cheap one, like a 120 gigabyte Munchkin. And then I decided, well, I've got the new board, and I've been so in a loop on what new technology is all about that I thought, okay, I have a solid state drive. That's great. Like if you get a regular just SATA drive, you're looking at about 30 megabyte read rate. If you get a SSD over SATA, you're looking at about a 530, 550 read rate. But if you get the NAND drive that plugs into the PCIe port on your hard drive, on your motherboard directly, you're looking at about 2,500 reads. So that basically means you turn your computer on and it just works. So for the extra $100, I just decided, okay, let's just do that. Let's get that hard drive. So I ended up going with the the Samsung Evo 960. 250 gigabyte, which is more than enough for me right now. I'll probably upgrade sometime in the future. Fortunately, the Gaming Pro motherboard allows you to add 2 solid state SSDs onto the board directly, and worst comes to worst, I'm sure one day I'll just probably swap one out, but we'll see what happens. The only thing I'm really waiting on right now is the SSD, and I got it from Newegg, and I was always told they had excellent shipping. Like things arrived pretty much the next day, and I was very disappointed because I ordered mine on March 30th, actually March 29th, I believe, and they still yet to ship it. So they said they have up until April 14th for it to get here before I should start calling them and complaining and stuff like that. But I don't know, I'm really unimpressed. Like, it's just shipping from Brampton. I'm here in Toronto, Ontario. It's not that far away. Once it's shipped, it should probably only take about a day to arrive, but yeah, as it stands, it still hasn't left the shipping center. So that's the only thing holding me back right now. Everything else is installed, ready to go. Turned it on, plugged in the monitor just to see what's going on. Boots to BIOS perfectly. Just have to set it up so it reads off the hard drive, the solid state hard drive. And then after that, yeah, we'll just install a copy of whatever, and we're on our bike. Okay, shoot, we are gonna end up getting too stuck here. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's get out of here before we end up trapping ourselves. But yeah, if anybody else has any idea of upgrades that I should be doing to this new computer. Keep in mind, I haven't built a computer since 2011, so a lot of things have changed since then, obviously, and I'm not really hip to the most modern accessories and things that you can apply to it. So any suggestions would be welcome. What are we doing in the chat here, guys? Sorry, I'm ignoring you a little bit. Okay, so Bell does have a special right now. Okay, I thought they did. I heard somebody talking about it, and I think you can bundle services as well. So, you know, I'm tempted to switch over. Right now I use Tech Savvy, which is significantly cheaper. It is a little bit inconsistent in its speed, but, you know, for the price, it's pretty good. I have a home phone, plus I have high-speed internet. I use DSL 1025, and it costs me about $70 per month for both services to get. That's not too bad, but, you know, I do have a Bell cell phone. It costs me about $100 a month. If you're not in Canada and you're wondering why things cost so much, well, welcome to Canada. It's absolutely ridiculous here what they charge for cell service and data and all that kind of stuff, but you know, it is what it is. You can't really go without, and there's really no other options. There's a couple of independent providers here in Canada, particularly Toronto, Ottawa, and Vancouver right now. Oh cool, Kurheim's joining. Right on. Okay, so we'll say hello to them. We haven't seen them in a while. Let's just get off to the side here so that way we can chat to them properly. Alright, let's get it. Hey, stranger. Alright, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's just one of those things. You just gotta pay for the service. There's no other way around it. You can pay for like things that are local, where if you just use it in the city, it'll cost you significantly cheaper, but then if you decide to go to the city, it's gonna run you quite a bit in long distance charges. So most people only get those plans if they're planning on staying within city limits. That's like Freedom Mobile and stuff like that. But all right, let's see if we can find Kurheim maybe in the lobby, or on Pioneer, I should say, and maybe we can convince them to do a quest. So let's just take out these guys right here, and let's use a freeze trap and a confuse trap and see if we can. Oh, you mother. Okay, can I bounce back to return to Pioneer? Ah, god damn it, I guess I have to. I thought I had escaped all. Oh well, say la vie. Oh yes, I did. Are you okay? Yes, I did purchase new memory. I ended up going with the what did I get? I got the Vengeance LED 3200 megahertz memory, and I just got 2 sticks right now, so 16 gig. I'm probably gonna get 2 more if I can find them at a decent price. I did have a bit of a deal through where I got them from, so I only got them for about $210 for both sticks, which is pretty decent. It's about $40 cheaper than anywhere else right now. Oh no, what's going on here? Okay, let's go back and find our weapon real quick. We should have probably dropped the pipe if we were smart, but you know, it is what it is. Let's grab our weapon. Oh cool. I know we don't need that special weapon, but we might as well grab it just to say we did. Alright, and where did we go? We went through this way. Okay, and Kurheim is already in game. Hopefully our stuff is still there. Where is our stuff? Our stuff is through this door right here, I believe. Cool. Awesome. Okay, sweet. Okay, where is Kurheim? I wonder if they're in the forest or if they are somewhere else. Let's see if we can get them chit-chatting with us. And Maybe we can even start a quest. We haven't done Frantic Fauna in quite some time, so I'm gonna quickly just chat. Hey Kuro, where are... Sorry, lost that. Where are you? Let's go to the area map. Maybe we can find them. I assume... Okay, there they are. Way over there. Far right. Okay, cool. So we didn't go through there, so let's go through the other doors and let's see if we can find Kuroheim. Did you want to do a quest? Let's see if we can convince our friend Kuroheim to do a quest. Okay, cool. Up to you. Alright. I would like to do Frantic Fauna, but it's much more fun with multiple players. Hola! I haven't done Frantic Fauna this year, but it's a lot more fun with a full team. I put a call out for more players. Hopefully we get some. Okay, so where did Kuroheim go? They went this way. Dreamcast Junkyard and PSO Rant on Facebook. I don't know if Kuro uses Facebook, so it is maximum pool night on DC Live. Alright, well, let's just follow Kuro. Where did they go? Okay, there they went. Sweet. Okay, and let's just see. Maybe we'll just kill the dragon quickly and some other folks might join in and we can just take it from there. Alright. Holy smokes. Kuro always makes such short work of these guys. But they do manage to buff my character up enough so that way I can kind of return the favor. Bang, bang, bang. Yes, so that is basically where I'm at right now with the stream and the computer, and I'll be moving the video card over to that as well. And hopefully it'll look pretty decent with the DSLR camera in addition to the new video card. I was thinking about upgrading to the Elgato Game Capture HD Pro S, which is optimized for 60 frames per second, but for the cost and the improvement, I don't honestly know if it's worth it, because really the games I'm playing, there are 60 frames per second games on the Dreamcast, but I don't think you would really notice much of a difference, to be quite honest. There's a couple games that I've played before, like what would be a good example? The Looney Tunes Space Race. Like, that's a fantastic game if you haven't played it before, and it looks really, really great in 60 frames per second. But I don't think we'll really be playing that online anytime soon. Well, actually, I don't think it's online enabled at all, but yeah, it's just one of those games that it's fun to play, you know, couch co-op and stuff like that, and it's also fun to play sort of local multiplayer, I should say, but unfortunately it's not online enabled. Alright, while we are tagging these guys, what's going on in the chat? I've lived in a few places in Canada, and it's pretty much across the board the same price. Now, that being said, if you live in rural areas, And I mean really rural areas. If you live in places where there isn't, like, here's the thing about Canada, if you haven't been here before, most people live in the big cities. Like I live in Toronto, but I've also lived in much smaller areas as well. And if you've only ever been to Toronto, you think that that's what the rest of the country looks like. And I'll tell you right now, it is not like that at all. There's a whole lot of nothing here. And if you live in those areas where there's a whole lot of nothing, there's also not a whole lot of service. So, for instance, the place where my parents live, which was only about maybe a dozen kilometers outside of the major city of Sault Ste. Marie, they couldn't get cable, they couldn't get DSL, they couldn't get anything. It was really limiting. They had dial-up internet up until 2-3 years ago, if you can imagine it. Not dial-up DSL, I'm talking about regular 56K fax modem speed internet. It was ridiculous, but they didn't really have another option. You can go satellite if you want, but that's going to cost you quite a bit of money. And they just weren't really in a situation where that was going to work for them. So they just kind of kept the dial-up for the longest time until they finally managed to get out of where they were and move into a little bit more of an urban setting, and it all worked out pretty well. That's really cool staff. You just found it? That's pretty cool. Oh wait, what do we got here? Okay, another special weapon. I should probably enable the hotkeys on the keyboard. It would probably make everything work a lot smoother, but I haven't really gotten there yet. And there were a couple of suggestions. I'm sorry, I haven't gone through them yet. On the last stream, I believe it was, there was a whole bunch of suggestions on how to optimize my HUD, and I just didn't get there. Oh well, say la vie. We'll get there eventually. Alright. Bang, bang, bang. Tag, tag, tag. And maybe we'll wait for those guys to wake up. Maybe we won't. Alright, we're going to follow Kuroheim and just bust through and just kind of take out the dragon, get some quick XP, and then maybe we'll go back to the lobby, see who's on board. Maybe we'll go back just to regular good old Pioneer, see who's on board. That's good. At least we'll get a little bit of experience. I think I'm almost due for a level up, to be quite honest. It's been quite some time. And I think I remember looking at the XP last game I was in, and it's pretty close. Actually, speaking of which, item, mag, Dreamcast, give item, Diemate, give item, Diemate, cool, give item, Diemate, nice, okay. My mag is happy. Okay, how much more do I have? Oh wow, I've only got 22,000 more XP to go before I get my next level up. That's amazing. Sweet, so that'll probably happen at the end of this game, the way things are going. So we're getting quite a bit of XP, which is sort of nice. Okay, bang, tag, tag, tag. In terms of what else has been going on, so I've been doing a lot of that lately. I modded my PS3. I've ended up putting custom firmware on it. That's great. I ended up putting the final mods on my Dreamcast. That's great as well. I have been tinkering around with a couple of other little projects. Also, I've refurbished about 4 other Game Gears for trade or sale, which is fantastic because generally I get them for fairly cheap. Like I buy them broken on eBay for a couple of bucks and add new caps to them. Typically that does the trick. Also, I've discovered that I used to replace the screens with third-party screens, which work. They're about $5 a piece, and they're a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes to put on straight, and they don't look quite like the original. But lately I've been using this really cool product called Displex, and it's a little fluid that you put on the screen and you rub it in, and it buffs out pretty much any scratches. Even some significantly deep scratches, it'll take most of them out completely. I was really impressed with that. And you can buy an entire tube of that stuff for about $3 shipped. Really good product if you've got some old consoles, or I should say handhelds rather, that are all scratched up and need a little TLC. Don't throw them out. don't be discouraged. This product works great. Only works on plastic screens, I might add. The way it works is you put it on the screen and you rub it in very vigorously, and it warms up and it actually melts the plastic a bit, and it causes all of the cracks to sort of fuse together. It's really kind of amazing. They actually sell another product which is a bit more expensive for glass screens. Now, I don't have any glass screens that have scratches on it that need to be fixed, so I haven't thought about purchasing that product. But if the product works as well as the plastic stuff does, I would highly suggest it. It'll work on Game Boys, Game Gears. It's designed specifically for PSPs, and I say specifically because that's the selling point they use, is that it'll be used to take out all the scratches on your PSP, which is also what I did. But pretty much any screen. I have a Pebble smartwatch that got a scratch on it, and it cleared that up pretty nicely as well. Only takes a couple minutes, and you know, if you're worried about causing any damage, like maybe putting too much on or not buffing it out enough and doing some damage to your screen, just grab some equipment with a plastic screen and just do a quick test run. That's all you need to do, just to kind of get a feel for how the product works. It's pretty simple. You just put it on, buff it out for about 2 minutes, and then use a clean cloth to take out any of the remaining fluids. That way it doesn't continue to melt the screen, and that's it. You're good to go. So I highly suggest that. Displex is what it's called. But I haven't really been ignoring social media that much. And unfortunately, I went down a few rabbit holes that I probably should have ignored, and it's all thanks to me listening to the CU podcast. That's the Pat Contry podcast. He's the guy that is the NES punk. I used to really enjoy that podcast. I used to really, oh, for Christ's sake, enjoy some of their takes on things, and you know, it was good. It was every 2 weeks or whatever, you know, you got a couple hours of guys just talking about games and stuff like that, and it was generally fairly innocent for the most part, pretty good. But the last couple of podcasts they put out, man, all those guys do is bitch about how much they hate video game culture and how much they hate collectors and resellers, and just got nothing good to say. It's kind of annoying, to be quite honest. But anyways, they did bring up this whole thing going on with this or what is it there, Channel Awesome, which back when it first came out, like what, 10 plus years ago, I certainly used to follow it. Back in the infancy of sort of videos streaming live and people hosting videos on their own websites, you know, with the AVGN and stuff like that. And who was the other big one? Spoonie was a big one there too. I used to watch all those things. It was a lot of fun back in the day. But definitely haven't paid attention in what, 5+ years. And you know, I'd hear things peripherally, and then I'd look at a couple of videos of people responding and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was entertaining for what it is, seeing the drama and stuff like that, but nothing I follow in depth. And I just kind of read it a little bit and pass on. But this recent news that came out about all the harassment and things like that, and the online Google Doc that was put out, I don't know. I gotta admit, I had skimmed through some of the Google Doc, and it all seems pretty sad, to be quite honest. Like, I don't know. Easy peasy. You know, basically just people complaining about hurt feelings. And when I say hurt feelings, like, there was some genuine harassment and stuff going on in that Google Doc. Like, I won't dismiss that, but the subtext I read from a lot of the complaints were kind of like, people just upset that they didn't quite make it in the internet world for whatever reason. Didn't get enough attention, didn't promote themselves properly, whatever. It seemed like that was what they were more concerned about than anything else, and felt that they were slighted by the website. But in the last, 8-10 years almost, especially since YouTube's become more accessible, I don't really think there's much excuse for not just kind of going out on your own and trying to promote yourself. You don't need to be promoted by a third party. like back in the day you did because of web hosting and stuff like that, but like it's been a long time, guys. Like there's a lot of other options out there, and people are relying on those websites to sort of make them happen. I don't know, that seems kind of antiquated. So I watched a couple of these videos and I just stopped. I was like, what am I doing? This is garbage. This is so sad, so pathetic. I can't follow this kind of stuff. So yeah, I checked out pretty quickly about as soon as I clicked in. But all these people that were coming out of the fray that I've never heard of before, complaining about not getting a shot and being sort of not getting enough attention from the company. It felt, I don't know, in my opinion, like I said before, like there's no reason why people don't just kind of go it on their own and promote themselves nowadays. Like the channel that you're currently watching, it doesn't have the most popularity in the world, but you know, there's a little bit of audience. I appreciate all you guys watching. Thank you very much. There's, you know, why don't they just kind of go it on their own and do that? It's not too hard. But I digress, you know. I think a lot of it also kind of comes back to people looking for approval and stuff like that. And maybe they grew up watching that channel and just want approval from the company and feel validated for whatever reason. And that probably has more to do with it than anything else. But anyways, like I said, I checked in, I checked out, and moved on. It did also send me down another rabbit hole of whatever happened to that Spoony guy. And it doesn't look like that guy's doing too well at all, unfortunately. I checked out his stuff many years ago as well, and kind of for the same reasons. It was just not really anything I was interested in anymore. And yeah, it looks like the guy's kind of fallen off the rails a little bit. What do you feel like playing tonight? What private service am I using? I am using Silver Rant primarily, and want Frantic Fauna? Sure, let's give it a go. All right, guys, we're gonna do Frantic Fauna. Okay, so we are gonna do an event, and we're gonna do Frantic Fauna. Yes, here we go. None of my mags are hacked. The good thing about this server is they're pretty on top of hacked weapons. People had given me hacked weapons in the past, and I wasn't even allowed to play the game until I got rid of them. So that's been taken care of. In terms of the server I'm playing on, it's Silver Rant. If you go to the Silver Rant website, there's a link actually in the description. It'll give you all the instructions on how to connect. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so what do we got here? UGB, thank you for coming. My name is Horace. I was assigned to study the area around the Central Dome. As you know, there was a large explosion of unknown origin on Ragol. We have recently located debris in Pioneer 1 in orbit around the planet. Unfortunately, the orbits of some of this debris have decayed. As a result, we have seen some of it returning to this planet's surface. Most recently, a probe crashed near the Central Dome. The probe is leaking radiation and Ragol's wildlife is being affected. We performed an emergency evacuation of the area and tried to establish a containment system, but the radiation is still spreading. It has already agitated the monsters near the Central Dome, and previously rare monsters are appearing with alarming frequency. If the contamination continues to spread at its current rate, even Pioneer 2 will be at risk before long. UGB, we need you to deactivate the probe before it's too late. Take this. It will give you security clearance to access the restricted areas. Receive the key card. Due to the radiation systems near the Central Dome are already unresponsive, you may have to use force to disable the security system. Okay, you are probably wondering how we expect you to survive the radiation. In the rush to evacuate, various equipment was left behind. With this in mind, I have created a special microchip since I returned to Pioneer 2. If you connect it to one of the weather stations near the Central Dome, it will modify the unit system to provide you with radiation protection. Got the microchip. Okay. I should also warn you if the radiation is interfering with teleportation around the dome. Once you're on Regol, you may not be able to return to Pioneer 2. Only the main teleporter seems to be working right now. Until the probe is deactivated, I suggest you bring plenty of supplies. Just between us, I think the radiation is reaching critical levels. The monster around the Central Dome have recently become more powerful. I fear our time to resolve this crisis is running out. Please hurry, UGB. The fate of Pioneer 2 is in your hands. Whew, that was a lot of reading. Alright, so let's make sure that we got tons of supplies. What do we got? Items. We've got all sorts of stuff we've got to sell, so... One sec. Gotta unload supplies. Alright, so let's sell some of this stuff and see what kind of special weapons that we got. We'll probably end up selling those as well, but we deposited all of our Meseta, so let's get rid of some of these lower end things. TP generate, yes. King's frame, yes. And okay, that should give us enough to check out these special items. Okay, what do we got here? Dun 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 dun. Let's see, just a minute. Ancient Saber. Okay, cool. What do we got here? Ooh, red handgun. Do you want to equip it? No. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Just a minute. Oh, interesting. Do you want to equip it? No. We can't use any of these, but maybe we'll have something cool. No. Okay, what else do we got? Fine Striker. Interesting. Okay. Never seen that one before. I wonder if it's... Oh, cool. Plantain Leaf. That's the one that Karoheim had. Red handgun 2. What do we got? Alright. Do you want to equip it? No. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's go to shop. Okay, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Got a couple of really good weapons. Okay, so we should probably get rid of... We'll keep that just because it looks cool. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay, what can we do with this? Anything? No. Ancient Saber, sell. What about this? No, we've got plenty of red handguns, so I think we're okay. Let's just hold on to that plantain leaf just because it looks kind of nice. And we'll buy that mono grinder. And our inventory is full. Stock up on trimates. Okay. Good to go. Okay, item pack, equip. So let's just beef up our Android rifle. Perfect. Okay. Let's go back to this and let's put the plantain leaf into our inventory just because it's kind of neat looking. Maybe somebody else can use it at some point. I don't know what they can do with it, but it's kind of a neat little item nonetheless. And let's hit the road. Off we go. Now I think Karoheim might also be already in game. So let's just catch up with them, and we will be getting a level up very shortly. No, the PAL version is actually pretty much identical for version 2, but I use the Eve's PSO patcher, which is a optimized version of PSO. If you have the ability to burn it onto disk, or if you have a USB GD-ROM, I would highly suggest getting the Eve's PSO version 2 CDI file. It'll look small, but it's actually an optimized version of the game. Runs a lot smoother, the load times are a lot quicker. It's just an ideal way to play. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. So they did mention that the enemies are going to be a lot stronger and a lot quicker here. So we also are going to probably get more experience, and we're going to be getting more items. Now I do like the idea of having the enemies a bit quicker, because that probably means they're going to spawn quicker and die quicker. With the help of our friend Kiroheim. Oh shit, I'm still hitting for 0. That's not good. Okay, bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Why am I hitting for 0? This is ridiculous. I don't think I used my special attack or debuffed anybody, but it appears as though I'm not really being that effective right now. Okay. I think it's also because the enemies are supposed to be a lot stronger. So Kiroheim did mention that they were the only going to be the person that you know, there is no Frantic Fauna without them. And now I think I understand. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. Finally, we're tagging for something. Holy smokes, this is difficult. Crossplay between PC and DC is possible. Unfortunately, crossplay between GameCube and DC is not possible. So sorry about that, but I don't think there's much way around that, unfortunately. Now, that being said, GameCube players can play on Silver Rant, but unfortunately, they can't play with Dreamcast players. And that's just because both games are significantly different for both consoles. There's just a lot of different equipment, different levels, different everything. I think even the... Oh, speaking of levels, look at that. 115. We are getting there, guys. Slowly but surely, but we're getting there. Gotta give... Probably would not have made it this far if it wasn't for your help. Yes, Kiroheim has always been an excellent ally in PSO. They've helped us out a lot. They've given us lots of cool loot. They've walked us through a bunch of really cool quests. Definitely could not have done it without them. Definitely would not have the character we currently have without them. That being said, I think I drive Kiroheim nuts sometimes with how poor of a player I am at this game, but they endure me nonetheless, so I appreciate it. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, we gotta take an opportunity to feed our mag too before we get too far into it. Item, mag, Dreamcast, give item. Give item. Give item. Okay, boom. Okay, now we can get back into this game. Also, if you're just getting on to the Dreamcast scene, keep in mind there's a lot more games than just PSO currently live. It seems like every other month a new game is getting their servers reactivated, which is pretty amazing. Right now I believe we have 15 live games. You can go to the Dreamcast Live website to double check that, but we currently have quite a few games live, mostly utilizing DreamPi, a few utilizing the BBA, which is what we're currently playing, or using rather, to play PSO. Now we could use DreamPi and probably wouldn't notice much of a lag, or frame skipping, or anything like that. There are certain custom quests that are only really played, or able to complete with the BBA, which is another reason why I like to keep it on. But just, it's a much, I've never really noticed instability with the DreamPi, but especially with the new LVI that Dreamcast Live sells, which is the LVI built into the USB fax modem. Pretty much works flawlessly. Like it'll never drop. It's taking power directly from the Raspberry Pi, so you don't have to worry about batteries running out or anything like that, or getting a power supply that's going to blow on you or anything. It's always going to sort of keep it going. And I've never really noticed any big issues with PSO particularly, but there were a couple of times where we weren't able to complete certain quests. I think the Christmas Catastrophe quest was a good example of a game that we couldn't complete because there's just too much data being sent, and it just doesn't work over a 56K fax connection. You need the broadband connection in order to play. So I think you can use the broadband adapter to play Toy Racer. You can use it to play Quake 3, definitely. PSO, definitely. So yeah, there are a couple of other games. I think even, what would be a newer game that just came live? I want to say Monaco Grand Prix, but it could be Pod Speed Zone that you can also use the BBA for. But other than that, you're probably better off to get a DreamPi setup, just because it'll allow you to play more online games as they become, even games that currently aren't live. It's probably going to utilize the DreamPi setup more likely than a BBA. So just something to take into consideration. It's pretty easy to set up once you get it going. There's a couple of videos out there. Currently PC Wizard probably has the most up-to-date video. Mine's still available. It'll get the job done, but his is a lot more streamlined because Kazade was able to really streamline the DreamPi setup. Since my original video, he was able to optimize his code, I guess, so that way it automatically connects to certain servers, so you don't have to worry about doing a lot of DNS changing. So yeah, just the new version of DreamPi is extremely user-friendly. You just put it onto the SD card and that's it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of grinding games too. It's funny that you mentioned that because I most recently, like I said with the video card, started playing a little bit of Diablo 3, and I had to put it down because I was getting, like, they make that game specifically so you get dopamine hits when you start finding these rare items. Kind of like, it's like PSO. It's a dungeon crawler, but the thing with PSO is I find the levels are a lot shorter. And because of that, it's just much more enjoyable to me. Like, I probably won't spend more than an hour and a half on a quest. Whereas with Diablo 3, you'll just keep chasing it because you're going to keep getting that loot, that super rare loot. And it's going to keep triggering those reward systems in your brain. And yeah, you're just going to keep following it and following it and following it. And sooner or later, you just kind of get up and you're like, oh, that was 4 hours of my day that I've lost forever. And I'm putting that conservatively. I'm sure there's people that spend way more than 4 hours at that particular game. But anyways, yeah, I've always been a big fan of dungeon crawlers. Most recently, I think I mentioned to everybody that I played a 3DS game, which I was very disappointed in. And it was called Heroes of Ruin. And it was a dungeon crawler I was expecting a lot more of. Like, I was expecting a lot more from it, I should say. And it was really, really lame. Like, the gameplay got really repetitive really, really quickly. And also, the customization of the weapons, it seemed very primitive. Like, you couldn't really do much. It was just basically like, here's some armor. Does it have more or less defense than the previous armor that you have? If it has less, get rid of it. If it has more, equip it. And that's basically it. And also with the special weapons, because character classes have very specific weapons they can utilize. Like, each character class can only use weapons designed for that character class. I found I was finding a lot more special items for character classes that I didn't qualify for. And because of that, I just had to sell them. Like, there's really nothing else you can do. It is a trading game too. You can trade different items and armor and stuff like that, but because there's so little people playing that game online, I just found it really difficult to establish those kind of online relationships like I have with PSO. Because at least with PSO, you know who you're going to be playing with most of the time. There's a handful of us that have figured out how to get online. And because of that, it's a really tight crew, you know? Like, I've never had to worry about people misbehaving and stuff like that. It's been a lot of really decent people and a lot of, there's very little drama. Let's just put it that way. Very little drama. Now, I didn't experience any of that on the 3DS. I have only played a handful of games online with the 3DS. What would be a good example? I used to do a little bit of Mario Kart 7. I enjoyed playing that. That's a good game. When Final Fantasy Explorers came out, which I hate that game so much. It's such a terrible game. I was expecting a Diablo-style Final Fantasy, a Diablo-esque Final Fantasy-style dungeon crawler. I was very excited. It's like, oh man, I can put hundreds of hours into this game on the streetcar, and it's going to be great. It's got Final Fantasy attached to it. It's got dungeon crawling attached to it. You can find all of these people on Wi-Fi to play with. It's going to be fantastic. And it was just such a crock of shit. The combat is so awkward and so unbalanced. Basically, if you have a distance weapon, you don't have to worry about anything, and you can just keep playing. And the bosses were just non-existent. They were unrewarding. They were unfulfilling. And most people, like any of those games, like they were using hacked weapons and stuff straight out the gate. Like it was not fun to play at all. And I ended up trading a lot of games that I shouldn't have traded to get that game. I traded my copy of Reaper of Souls for the PS3. I traded a copy of Bravely Default for that game because I also didn't like Bravely Default. Now, in retrospect, much better game. But it was the story. It bothered me so much. I found it to be just so dumb. I couldn't get behind it. And, you know, like, I'm not one of those social justice warrior-y type people, but definitely a little bit of, like, I don't know if you want to call it sexist or not, but some of it, I got some creepy vibes from some of the storylines. Just put it that way. A lot of storylines revolving around older gentlemen putting the moves on very young characters. So didn't like that too much. Kind of felt a little bit creepy. But yeah, I really enjoy dungeon crawlers. Those are probably my favorite types of games to play. Back when it first came out, Dungeon Siege, great game. I used to play that with all of my roommates in college back in 2000. We would just play a local player. And I think you can get it off of Steam now, and I think they have online enabled, which I'm kind of interested in playing because that was a really fun game. Again, very basic dungeon crawler. Just one of those things where it's like, okay, is the armor more or less than what you currently have? If it's more, equip it. If it's less, get rid of it. There were a couple of attributes that made certain armor more valuable or more desired than others, but more often than not, you were just looking at very rudimentary sort of level grinding mechanics behind the game. So it's still fun. Like I felt like the animations and stuff like that were really smooth, and especially for the time. Like that game came out in 2001. Actually, the music is really decent on it as well. I was recently playing it. I finally got it working on my my current computer. Took a little bit of fidgeting because for some reason it didn't like the DirectX codec or something I had installed, but put it on recently, played it for a little while. I was like, oh man, I remember why this game was fun. It would be more fun with more players, but you know, I don't think I'm going to be convincing anybody to have a LAN party nowadays, although that would be a lot of fun. What I should do is I should just get a bunch of like old school gaming computers, like 4 of them, put up a hub and just host local online or local multiplayer PC game parties. That would be great. I think I can actually get that going now that I think of it, and it would cost me $100. Probably about $100 to get going. I was at a Value Village today, and actually I'm going to show you guys something in a second. And I saw a computer that I would say probably was about 2005, 2006 for $20. It had a really decent video card, especially for the time, installed on it. It had memory was maxed out. The tower was like a really cool sort of translucent with acrylic gaming tower, probably pretty high end for the time. It was a mid gaming tower, so you could put a couple of different things on it. It had 4 hard drives installed. $20. I probably should have bought it, but I opted not to. So speaking of Value Village, cheap things, while we're waiting to be revived because we can't go back to Pioneer, I'm going to show you guys something really quick. and it is a recent acquisition from the good old Value Village. And it is this guy right here. I'm so happy to have found this. It is a Retron 5, and I really want you guys to pay attention to the price here. It cost me, can you see that? $12.99. Came with everything, came with the controller, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. It's a little bit mushy, but I enjoy it for what it is. And as you all know, you can hook up any one of the controllers for the other consoles that it supports to it, which is great. Yeah, $12. I hooked it up already. I was playing a little bit of, I just put in a copy of Final Fantasy 1 for the Nintendo. I put in a copy of Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the Super Nintendo, just to see if it worked, and everything worked great. There was no lag. I know that the Retron 5 emulates the game, but you need the original ROMs for it, and the only way you get the original ROMs is by having the original carts. I'm okay with that. It is just a really handy machine to have around to get all your consoles to respond to each other. I was just really, really impressed with how well it worked. Now, I haven't hooked up any of the original controllers to it, although I do have all of the original controllers for those systems. Currently, I do not have any Sega Genesis games in my possession, but I do run across them quite frequently. So I plan on probably getting a handful of those games. I probably won't go all out, but you know, if I run across them, I'll get them. I'll probably get like the standards like Sonic and stuff like that. I doubt I'll get any of the rare ones. Now, I used to have a lot of rare games for the Sega Genesis, but unfortunately sold them at a time where Sega Genesis stuff was going for pretty cheap, and somebody who knew what they were buying bought it off me. So I had things like Contra Hardcore, I had like the Earthworm Jims, and I had what were some other examples of some games? I had Battletoads Double Dragon, I had, you know, Ghouls and Ghosts, all that kind of stuff. Same thing goes for my TurboGrafx 16. I sold that. The original one I had about 12 games, and all the standards like Phantasy Star and stuff like that. Or not Phantasy Star, Fantasy Zone. But sold it at a time where retro gaming was kind of just starting to take off. So I got kind of what I wanted for it. I traded for a couple of higher end Nintendo games. That being said, I've sort of fallen out of love with Nintendo collecting. I'm going to keep the carts I have, and if I run into any loose ones that are of any significance in the wild, for sure I'll pick them up, but I'm definitely not actively seeking to upgrade my Nintendo collection anymore. It is pretty much what it is right now. I have all the games I like to play, and that's where I'm leaving it at. But yeah, it works really well. After I'm done this, I'm actually going to throw in a couple of the Game Boy Advance games and see how well those play on the big screen. And I think you can get new adapters for it as well, if I remember correctly. Okay, come on. Die, mate. Oh, shoot. Get out of there. Okay, if Kuro's watching the stream, they're probably frustrated. Like, why are you feeding your mag in mid-battle? Alright, cool. Anything good? Wow, I've dropped a lot of loot. Any good loot, though? That's the problem. Well, we could always sell this stuff for more Masetta, which is kind of nice, but nothing that we really particularly need. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Okay, what's going on in the chat here? Oh, for Christ's sake. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat and I died. Yes, PSO, from what I understand, was an extremely popular MMO for the time. Now that said, if you've been watching these streams for a while, this is going to be a broken record for you, but I did not have a Dreamcast back in the day. I only got into Dreamcast really 3 years ago, and I've had many in my possession, but I just never really played them. Never really did a lot of research on them, to my disadvantage. Didn't realize how easy it was to play. Did you fret? Yeah, you had traps? Nope, just saving them. Yeah, so I had a few of my possessions, sold them. Part of me is like, this is true. This is true. Part of me is wondering if I sold them with accessories that were probably more valuable than I realized, because I would buy these things at yard sales, not thinking to look for stuff like, I don't know, BBAs, for instance. Not looking to see if they're a model, if they were Vision Zero Dreamcasts or anything like that. Like, I just basically got them and traded them for Nintendo games. So about 3 years ago, I was at a Value Village, and I saw one behind the kiosk, and had all the accessories that you needed for it. It had the hookups, it had everything. It had 2 controllers, VMUs, the works. And I was like, you know what? Let's just bring this home and give it a try. It has everything it needs. There's nothing that I have to go and seek out and buy. Let's give it a try. And I burned a few games. I was shocked at how easy it was. In fact, it was kind of funny. I had to relearn how to burn CDs because it had been so long since I'd done that. And I didn't realize at the time that the files that you were getting were incomplete, but it was enough. So actually, one of the first games I played was Phantasy Star Online. To give it a try. And then I did some research, and I'm like, I heard you can play Dreamcast Online. And this is I found it at just the right time when DreamPi was coming out. So did some research and found that there's all these different ways of getting online with your Dreamcast. You can use PC-DC using your computer. You could have used your BBA. And then there was this thing called DreamPi. And there's really no clear route on how to use it. Basically, the software was out there for your Raspberry Pi. And at the time, the Raspberry Pi Model 2 had just come out. So that was the newest iteration of the Raspberry Pi. And I put together that video that helped out a lot of people and got a lot of people reinterested in Phantasy Star Online. Now, I played it solo for the first time when I got it, and I was like, man, this game is fucking boring. I understood it, and I understood the online element was probably better. There were a couple of crude videos online of people playing it. In fact, my first videos, if you go back, they were extremely crude. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wasn't streaming live, actually. I was recording things and I was splicing together video after the fact, and that was a big pain in the ass. That would take me sometimes hours because I would have all this footage that I'd have to edit and render, and after I rendered it, I kind of want to put it up the same night just because I was excited to have it posted. And all that stuff based on the YouTube algorithm at the time was getting a lot of attention. I could get 10,000 views in a day or so, which is pretty good for somebody like me. And then, I started experimenting with different recording techniques. I upgraded the capture card that I was using because originally I was just using S-Video and recording that way. Then got the Elgato and upgraded the microphones and stuff like that. And a lot of this is, for me, it's the journey, not the destination. So I always really enjoy doing things like fixing consoles, modding consoles, stuff like that. And then typically I move on. I got that TurboGrafx 16 recently with the TurboGrafx CD. I saw the entry point to get into that system was quite high. I really wasn't interested in collecting for a new system. I definitely missed the boat on TurboGrafx 16. So, I fixed it up, got it working, sold it, and then got better, or stuff that I was more interested in getting. So there's very few things that I've actually modded, improved on, or no one else is going on tonight. Yeah, I guess not. It's unfortunate. I thought we would get a few more players, but that's okay. I like playing with Kuro. So yeah, I put together that video, fixed up the Dreamcast, and if this was any other console, I probably would have just kind of moved on and that would have been it. But I don't know, it hooked me. I understand why people love this console. And then, of course, it's got even more supported with more online games. All of the homebrews that have been coming out recently, it's just, I don't know, it's fantastic. There's just so much stuff for the Dreamcast. And when you go down the rabbit hole of the peripherals that you can get for it and stuff like that, it's just so fascinating. They really wanted this system to kind of be all you needed. They wanted it to be the thing that you put into your living room, and then that was it. That's all. It was going to be your computer, it was going to be your telephone, it was going to be your media player, it was going to be anything, everything rather. And it was so poorly marketed. It failed, not miserably. It was really big in Japan, not so big in North America. Like I remember seeing commercials for it. I would have been in my last year of high school at that time in 1999, and yeah, I really was never a huge Sega guy. Like, I really enjoyed the Sega Genesis for what it was. I had a friend who owned a Sega Genesis, and I can remember playing hours of Golden Axe, but for me, I was always a big fan of RPGs, and I know that there's a couple of RPGs on the Sega Genesis, but for some reason, I don't know, I just never really got into them. So because of that, I don't really have any sort of like nostalgic feeling for them or anything like that. Oh shit. And you know, I will play the odd one on emulated, but I have no desire to go and actively seek them out. So so that's kind of my Dreamcast story. You know, it was a fairly popular system for a few folks, and from what I understand, SegaNet was quite popular, and these servers were, the lobby and stuff like that, were quite busy when it was first released. But you know, the servers went offline and the console kind of took a break for a while, and there was a handful of people keeping it alive behind the scenes. But now in the last 2 years in particular, like it's gone gonzo. Like, there's so many more people interested in the Dreamcast. Even locally, I find people more and more wanting to trade for Dreamcast stuff in the gaming world, where previously everybody just wanted Nintendo, Super Nintendo, stuff like that. Nobody really asks for any of the boutique stuff. Like, nobody really asks for TurboGrafx 16 related games or equipment and stuff like that, just because they know, you know, people probably don't have it, and those that do probably know what they have and want to hold on to it. When I did have my TurboGrafx 16, I did do a bit of research, and I was tempted to actually get a EverDrive for it, and I was tempted to get the CD emulator for it. There's somebody that invented a CD, sort of like a flash drive replacement for the CD to play CD games. But for what it was worth and the size of it, I was like, I'm not that big of a TurboGrafx fan to need all this stuff. You know, it's simply just not worth it for me. So I'd rather sell it and just play everything emulated on the, you know, Recall box or on my PSP or however I'm going to play it. There's so many different ways. And now that I have my PlayStation 3 modded, I'm probably going to go and get a couple of emulators for that as well. Currently, I'm just ripping a couple of games that I have on disc, just because I'd rather have them on my hard drive, running off of that, particularly games like Fallout and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. Okay, I think we're getting to the last level of Frantic Fauna, and holy smokes, we are just raking in the XP. This is beautiful. Again, the good thing about this weapon is it covers so many. Come on, Confuse Trap. It covers so many enemies in one shot. Okay, come on, heal, heal. Bang, bang, bang. Heal, heal, heal. Come on, twins. Let's just do it, just to say that we did. I should probably hotkey my dimates and trimates and stuff like that, just so that way I'm not always using my my photon blast every time I try to heal up. Okay, let's just use a damage trap and see what happens. Boom, boom, boom. Let's use a freeze trap, see what happens. Boom, boom, boom. That'll make Kuro happy. That's a good fight, getting one complete in box. Actually, I do have a complete in box Dreamcast. That was a crazy deal. So, it happened a while ago, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on the stream, or at least mentioned it kind of fleetingly. But here's the deal. About a year and a half ago, I was scouring eBay, and some guy had an open auction, no reserve, and he had 3 different lots. One was a Dreamcast lot, one was a Super Nintendo lot, and one was a Nintendo lot. And these lots were for complete sets, so in box. Also a lot of box games and a lot of high-end games too for each lot. Now these are separate lots. I wasn't interested in Super Nintendo. I was not interested in Nintendo. All the games that they had there, I already... Okay, cool. Kuro's coming back on their own. I already owned, and some of them I actually already owned in box, which was pretty good. I should actually show off my boxed Nintendo collection. I don't have that many, but the ones I have are pretty decent. Anyways, I saw the Dreamcast lot, and it came with a boxed Dreamcast, 2 boxed VMUs, 2 boxed controllers, a 4-time VMU, which is always useful to have. I have a couple of those now. A couple of blue translucent controllers, some really high-end games. It came with Skies of Arcadia, Shenmue 2, complete. All these games are complete. Grandia 2. What else? A couple of mid-tier games too. I think it came with Egg as well, but I already owned Egg at the time. What else? A couple of filler games, a couple of disc-only games, but it was no reserve. So I was like, okay, this guy is probably gonna get... I was doing the math, and I looked at it, and the guy lived in Toronto, where I live. So I was like, should I reach out to him in private message and see if we can do something off the radar? So I sent him a private message, and I was like, hey, not sure how much you're looking for this lot, but if you want to save the eBay fees and the hassle of shipping, I'll give you $200. And he got back to me, and he said, you know, he would do 200, but he would only do it if it took out Shenmue 2. And at the time, Shenmue 2 was going for about $100. I think it's actually cooled down a lot now. It was going for a ridiculous amount at one time. Keep in mind, Shenmue 2 for the longest time was about a $30, $40 game. And then for whatever reason, it shot up in price. I think it was when Shenmue 3 was announced. So it shot up in price, and I was like, you know what? For a lot, that's a pretty decent lot for $300. And I owned a lot of the games that were there. So I knew if I got it for $300, I could probably end up... Okay, we gotta kill this thing. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Let's use our Android rifle. Boom. Boom. Awesome. So I ended up selling Skies of Arcadia, Grandia 2. I already had a couple of Dreamcasts, but I wanted the box. Sold the Dreamcast. Ended up getting all of my money and $10 back for the games that I already owned. Getting rid of those, and yeah, it was great. So I ended up getting a copy. I actually upgraded a copy too, because my copies of Skies of Arcadia had a bit of scuffs on it, so I kept those and then sold the other ones. Same thing goes for Grandia too. Yeah, ended up with a boxed Dreamcast, a couple of boxed VMUs, boxed controllers, copy of Shenmue 2 complete in box, and all for plus $10 in the end. And a couple of filler titles too that I already had, but didn't have but needed. So it worked out really, really well. So I would suggest that the thing was, we were working it out, and I have a feeling that the guy ended up getting dinged in the end. He the messages that we sent through eBay were definitely flagged, because after the fact I got a message saying, we think that you tried to arrange something outside of eBay that's against eBay's policy, blah blah blah, which probably meant that he had to pay the final value fee on what he sold to me. So poor fella. Oh well, c'est la vie. Cheapest way to play online with the Dreamcast is probably with a DreamPi setup. I can't suggest that enough. I think it's about $60 actually. Connect the microchip. Yes. Okay. Sweet. Now what? Okay, now we're small. Boom. I would suggest going to Dreamcast Live to do it. Because you can get an all-in-one kit from PC Wizard that will solve all your problems. You don't have to go sourcing for parts or anything like that. He'll give you everything you need. You can watch his video on how to set it up. And I think it goes for about 65 or 80 bucks. I can't recall exactly. Or if you can find yourself a Raspberry Pi, any model will do. You can follow any one of our tutorials on how to build this equipment yourself. The line voltage inducer is pretty easy to make. Just follow the instructions step by step. The parts are very cheap to source. You just have to do a little bit of soldering, and that's about it. It's pretty easy to get online. It just takes a little bit of TLC. Okay. Insert keycard. Yes. Authorization accepted. Okay. Cool. Now what? You know what I love about tours? What do we love about tours? That they spit death balls at you. Okay. Probe systems, and it's so random. Yep. This is true. Okay, where do we go from here? Lilies are easy to predict. Yes, they are. Okay, we're small. Are we supposed to go anywhere else? Alright, in the meantime, let's just feed our mag. But those damn hyper... Yeah, they are brutal. Oh my goodness. You know, if they can take out Kuroheim, that those guys are bad news. Okay, let's just feed our mag. Cool. I knew if you died, then I would have zero chance of beating it on my own. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's take the warp. Where is it taking us? Okay, back to Pioneer 2. Let's see what's going on here. So what is our reward? I think we've done all of the side quests. Let's just double check with Kuroheim. Are there any side quests we missed? Because we did kind of blast through it, but Kuroheim knows how to do this the best. Alright. UGB, you've done it. With the probe deactivated, we are already detecting decreasing radiation levels on Ragoa. Pioneer 2 is no longer in danger. Please pick up your reward at the guild. Thank you for your assistance. Alright, cool. Beating the Ice Dragon and Shroom Hunt. Oh, yes. I remember. Alright, so let's... Do we need anything? We should probably get our supplies and maybe sell a couple of the things that we don't need. I think the Techer is supposed to look at a bit of our equipment that we found. Can't really use much of it, but you never know, right? Okay, absolutely not. Okay, and what's this? Absolutely not. Thank you, Mr. Techer. Okay, let's go and... Okay, I guess Kuroheim is going offline. Oh, okay. Well, they're gone. It was good playing with them. Let's go back to the lobby, I guess. We'll get rid of that. 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 And that. And that. And let's stock up on our die mates, stock up on our tri mates, get another mono grinder, why not? Let's beef up our Android rifle again, equip, and item, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, cool. Okay, and can we do anything with our mag? No, our mag is still recovering. So item, equip. Let's go back to our weapon there. Alright, so let's drop off our Dreamcast mag in the bank, so that way it's nice and safe. Deposit, item, Dreamcast mag, yes. Deposit, Meseta, as much as we possibly can, why not? And let's go to Pioneer, save our game. See who else is out there, and I think we might call it a night. It was really cool to play Frantic Fauna. I do not know how to complete those side quests, so I am not going to bother. Okay, let's go to the guild counter. What are we getting? Okay. Oh, 32 photon points. Sweet. Alright. So, back to the lobby we go. I wonder if we're going to see anybody else there. No. I guess Kuroheim is currently in game, or they have left. Organize team, join team. Nope, they are gone. Alright, well, it was good playing with them. Let's save our game for tonight. Save. 1. Character data saved. Sweet. And let's quit proper. Excellent. Alright. Very fun game, guys. I really enjoyed it a lot. I'm so glad that Kuroheim was able to join us. I just want to show you a couple other things before we depart for the night. So, I got buttons again for some reason. I have no idea why. But some guy, 2 of them for $8. I was like, hey, why not? So, he gave me this little die-cast Krampus button. So, I'll save that for Christmas. Why not? And here is one that I thought was kind of interesting. It is the A Strange Land button. So that is Dee Snider's movie from the late 90s when he tried to create a new horror villain character. And I actually really enjoyed that movie. The soundtrack was fantastic, but the movie was actually pretty good as well. What else we got here? I found a copy of Beyond Two Souls. I know it's been out for a while, but I've always really wanted to play it. So I'm pretty happy to have that. Let's just put that in frame so I get an idea. Okay, so I got that. Found a copy of triple feature of Ninja Turtles on Blu-ray. Why not? The first 2 are pretty good. The third one is absolute ass. Finally got a copy of Watership Down. So if you haven't seen this movie, it is extremely depressing, but it is a fantastic animated film. Probably like it on Blu-ray one day. These were really interesting. So what I have here actually is a Criterion collection. You might know them for their DVDs and Blu-rays of, very, movies you've never heard of. They give the royal treatment to. But this is actually a catalog for, let's just go to the full cam here, get rid of that, for their 16mm collection. So that'd be film reel cans, and you could rent them through this magazine. So it comes with the order catalog here. You just fill out your order, and you can pick from any one of these films, and they'll send you a film can of the movies. So I thought that was pretty neat. It was 99 cents, so check that out. And then finally, I got these 2 comics. So I finally got another copy of The Killing Joke. I sold my copy. I probably shouldn't have, but again, 99 cents, why not? It's a good magazine. I've been really getting back into my old Batmans, and this was a pretty cool find. So this is a trade paperback. Now this is a reprint of the trade paperback, not the original 86. And this is the original 3 issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this is, back when they all had, let's see if we can find a page here, back when they all had red bandanas and all looked kind of the same and stuff like that. So I got it for $5. I was really happy with that. A little bit more than I like to spend at the thrift store, but pretty good magazine, or pretty good comic nonetheless. All right, guys, thanks for watching. thanks for enduring my rambling. I really appreciate it. That was a fun game. I'm glad we were able to play some Frantic Fauna. It has been a while, and I've been wanting to play that for a bit. I'm glad we got to play with Kuroheim. They are always amazing to play with, as you probably know. And you guys, again, you're always wonderful to have in the chat. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Rate the video if you like. The likes always kind of help and get more people interested in the videos, and the Patreon links and donation links are down at the bottom as well. But until next time, guys, take care, and I will see you later.